What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. This week, we're going to be talking all things the Terry extension, all things the Beal extension, and as well as a special 4th of July cazz of the week. So make sure you guys listen all the way through. You're not going to want to miss this. What's going on, everybody? Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to thank you all for watching and listening and kindly remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, download, press all the buttons you can to support us. Watch us on YouTube, Dom and Pop Podcast, and check us out on Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, all the good listening services at Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus Podcast. Make sure to give us a download and make sure to also follow us at DC Sports Plus on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks a lot, guys.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you. You know, Pop, I
felt something there.
I couldn't have done it without your creative direction.
Exactly. That's producer extraordinaire.
Yep, that's what I needed. You sitting there and just looking at the camera with that 1,000-yard stare. I couldn't have, there's no way I could have got through that. What's going on, Pop? How you doing? Welcome back.
Doing good. How about you, son?
Doing great, man. This is our first full positivity podcast as DC sports fans, and honestly, one of the better weeks to be a DC sports fan that I've had in a long time. So I'm real excited to talk this week. It's going to be great.
We're on a roll, man. Last week we celebrated Paulo Banchero, and now we're getting into a celebration of a couple of really big signings. But before we get into it, you know, Father's Day happened, and I've got this gift in the mail from my son, and I didn't wear it because I wanted to be able to show off the front and the back.
Yes, sir.
And he custom made a T-shirt for me. I guess if you're on Spotify or something, you won't be able to see it, but it's got pop on the back.
If you're on Spotify, get on YouTube too.
That's right. And with the number 14 on it, and custom-made T-shirt for Commanders. Took a couple of weeks to get here. You know, it was a little bit behind schedule.
Hey man, but, you know, COVID, very cool. Supply chain.
Fits great. So loving that.
Good stuff. Glad you like it, Pop. Glad you like it.
That's
I figured,
awesome.
You know,
it's
awesome. Always good to have more Commanders gear for the podcast and just in general now. And
I'll wear that proudly.
So one other thing, if you're ready to just jump right into it, I say
let's do it.
Yeah. One other thing we'll be wearing proudly is number 17 jerseys, at least for the next 4 years. Terry McLaurin signs a massive extension. I think he's within the top 5 highest paid receivers once that kicks in. And for anybody who might have misunderstood it, it's a 3-year extension, but he has 1 year left on his rookie deal. So he's going to play this year on the rookie deal. I think it's only like $1 million or something like that. And then next year is when the $70 million over the 3 years, that's when that kicks in. But he'll be with us through 2025. So that's awesome. That's really exciting. Pop, take it away. Go ahead.
No, it's great. You know, some of the details, $71 million 3-year extension, $28 million signing bonus, 52.3 guaranteed. And if you ask me, he's worth every penny of it. You know, there's been some talk this week about where Terry ranks among the top receivers. Is he top 10 or not? To me, unquestionably, he's a top 10. But the bigger thing for me is he is our guy.
Yep.
He's our guy. And honestly, I know this sounds crazy. I wouldn't trade him for any other receiver in the league because he's ours.
Yep.
And, you know, especially reading what he said in his statement, which we'll get into in a minute. I mean, like I said, I'm just ecstatic, and I do think it's a great deal and way to go, front office, and he's worth every penny. And I was listening to B. Mitch and Finley this week, as I often do, and agree with them 100% that it may seem expensive at the moment, but in a couple of years, this deal is going to seem like a bargain. And just pray, you know, Terry stays healthy, but as long as he's on the field, I have no doubt he is going to, you know, be worth every penny.
Yep, and I think when you look at across the board, kind of the 4 receivers that were being talked about for extensions, A.J. Brown got paid. He was kind of the first one. And then we're looking at Terry, we're looking at DK Metcalf, and we're looking at Debo. DK and Debo still haven't been paid yet. We managed to get Terry paid well before training camp, ready to come be a part of the program. And the things that he said on the tweet that he put out, that paragraph that he wrote, or a couple of paragraphs, whatever, man, it's just fantastic. You're ready to run through a brick wall for the guy. And I just think, I mean, in my lifetime, I've had a really hard time. I think you could probably point to Ryan Kerrigan is maybe the only other guy that came here, exceeded expectations, played amazingly, was a great fixture in the locker room, and we took care of him, and we kept him around for a long time. I was even against letting him go last year. But hopefully Terry, much of the same, and we'll get to see that long, productive career out of him, and he'll kind of be a fixture. Because, we've had some good receivers in my lifetime, and Terry is, without a doubt, the best. So really excited to have him around and to have him be hopefully a permanent part of the Commanders, or maybe as permanent as you can be in the NFL. But you get what I'm saying. It's just, you can't say enough good things about it. It's so awesome.
What were some of the favorite things you heard, even from a paraphrase point of view from what he said in his statement? What would be the one or two things that stood out to you?
What I thought was really cool was that he said from the day he got drafted to DC, it was his goal to win a Super Bowl with the Commanders. That
Absolutely.
gave me chills because honestly, we're diehard Commanders fans. We're in the minority in terms of the whole NFL, right? There's 31 other teams that have diehard fans. And we are oftentimes looked down upon as a franchise across the league and in the media, especially the national media. We get a lot of sometimes deserved, maybe sometimes a little overblown, kicking a guy while he's down, attention. And so for a guy like Terry, who's come out, played in awful quarterback situations, had every reason to be like, I gave this team my everything and I won out. And to hear that his mentality was, I want to win a Super Bowl here. Here, not just I want to win a Super Bowl and go to the Hall of Fame. I want to lead this team to a Super Bowl. That is I don't know what we did to get so lucky. I got to thank...
That's a great point.
I got to thank, Jay Gruden for that one. Made the pick. It's just what a miracle. That's honestly, it's a football miracle that we got a guy that talented in the third round with that kind of mindset to this franchise. That's like a once in a lifetime thing. I'm so excited.
That's a great take. That's a great take.
Yeah.
I love that statement for sure. Talk about how loyal and how much he wants to do it for the fan base. What a great leader. And, I think he said there's no place he'd rather be. And then, he said something along the lines of, to whom much is given, much is expected. So, he's going to work. I have all the confidence in the world. He's not going to be one of these guys who signs a big deal and, I've got my money, and loses motivation. He's more motivated than ever. He wants to earn that deal. And he's just such a great, great person. And having, a guy like Terry, signed and leading the offense, and a guy like John Allen signed and leading the defense, I think is a great sign for the future. And I definitely think things are trending up. But what does it do to, if at all, change your outlook on what we're looking at for the Commanders? What does it do for you?
I think it's obviously positive, right? It's a great thing. I'm just thinking kind of what you're talking about, we got John Allen locked up. Logan Thomas was another guy that we signed last year to an extension. Unfortunate with the ACL tear, but I remember watching that. Insane catch he made. He never should have had to make that catch. He was wide open. But that insane catch he made in Oakland, or not in Oakland, in Vegas. We were there at that game, and he went up that in the end zone. The kid's incredibly talented. And now Terry, it's, I think we sometimes understate the mess that Rivera and company inherited.
Right.
And, they haven't had the luck of getting a player like Joe Burrow that can just turn the franchise around like that, and those kind of players, Burrow, again, once in a generation, once in a lifetime type of prospect, number 1 overall pick. You don't have the number 1 overall pick. You just can't get that guy. And even that is 50-50. So I think this is pointing towards, this is actually some action in the category of Rivera talking about how he wants to run the program and what he wants to do things in his culture. These kinds of things, Allen last season, Terry this season, Logan Thomas last season, these kinds of things are the kinds of things that we should expect to be seeing from the Rivera administration and from his crew. Now, is it enough? Time will tell. This is a long-term thing. We got to see
Right.
how this progresses. I don't know that any of us expected that Terry wasn't going to play this year, regardless of whether or not he got the deal done. So I don't think it's going to change anything in the wins and losses column. But yeah, in terms of how much I'm able to trust Rivera and what he talks about, this is a point. This is a point for Rivera. This definitely makes me believe a little bit more in him as a GM and a head coach and a culture guy, etc.
Well, you're starting to see a trend that's opposite of what we saw before under Bruce.
Yeah.
The honorable Bruce Allen there, and that where it seemed like we were always looking for a bargain, and we get into these situations where we could have locked Kirk up and we just didn't do it, and we tried to kind of negotiate and get into this franchise tag deal. Now you've seen it, right? J.D. McKissick, a little bit of a scare there, but he comes back to D.C. John Allen signs a long-term deal. A guy like McLaurin, who's respected, league-wide, signs a deal, and and paying that a little extra to get the deal done.
Yep.
I think it's a great sign, and we're seeing that trend. And they're being smart about it. They made a decision about Brandon Sheriff that it wasn't worth the money, and that money be better spent in other spots. And I think that was a right decision as well. So, but you're not just seeing everything go the Brandon Sheriff way. There's a really good balance and a really good trend. And we'll see what the results are on the field. But I think it's great. And then you hear players like McKissick and John Allen are two that of note this past week who are quoted as saying what a good sign it is. And I think it probably gives people like Deron Payne and a Montez Sweat, some of those other guys that are in line for a contract, some hope that they've got a shot at re-signing. So we were going to get into our defensive position grades this week with continuity from last week, but decided it was more important to celebrate the Terry deal. And one other note before we forget, this is our our 17th ever pod, and we signed number 17. So I think that's a great sign for a Diamond Pop podcast, but also a great sign for the Commanders and Terry McLaurin.
Well, and on the 17th of July, me and you are going to get matching number 17 tattoos right here, right?
I'm just going to carve it out of my chest here. That's all I'm gonna
Fair enough. Yeah, it's going to be...
I can't handle the pain, so I'm just going to,
That's fair. So this episode is sponsored by the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0.
Oh, come on. We'll gladly sponsor them.
I'll shave a 17 for sure. Definitely.
Man.
But I called it. I think it was about week 15. Go back, listen to our early podcast. I said they're just waiting for week 17. Yeah, I might have said it kind of facetiously at the time, but I meant it. I predicted it. I meant it 100%.
You nailed it, son.
With seriousness. No, but I mean, the Terry thing, like you said with the Kirk thing, and I think it puts the money thing into perspective too. Because when Kirk signed, that contract changed a lot in the NFL when he signed with Minnesota and he got all guaranteed money. That became the new standard for a really good quarterback to get a big all guaranteed contract. And I think it was something like 3 years, $80 million, something in that ballpark, which sounded crazy. But now you've got, Josh Allen 2 summers ago signed 6 years, $250 million. You've got guys signing 4 or 5 years, $250 million, only a couple years after, and much higher, more elite performers. So I think the Terry contract, for as much money as we're paying him now, 2-3 years down the line, when his numbers inevitably go up because he's playing with better quarterback play, this is going to be a steal. Like, we're going to be talking about having to negotiate again. And I think the 3 years thing is nice because he gets to hit the market one more time before he's 30. Things go well these next few years, we have that option too. That's the other thing that people don't quite understand. Things can go left. So you commit to a 5-6 year contract at that level of money. That's a lot of money, and especially for a receiver. So our options
It's
are
a
going to be
win-win, yeah.
our options are going to be open. The team wins, he wins, the fan base wins. I think it's an 11 out of 10. It's a 17 out of 10.
I said it before, and knock on wood that he stays healthy. He's this generation's Art Monk. He's that guy that is just going to be steadily, maybe a little underappreciated at times when you talk about, league circles. But what can't he do?
Yeah.
What can't he do? He's got elite speed. He's got great hands. He can play all three wide receiver positions. Like I said, I know I'm biased, but I struggle to find, yeah, you can look at a guy like a Tyreek Hill and you say, okay, well, I would take Tyreek over Terry. Okay. But in terms of versatility and ability to do all things, Cooper Kupp, slide Terry into Cooper Kupp's position and give him every opportunity that Cooper Kupp had. Maybe those results are pretty comparable. So,
Perhaps.
like I said, but more importantly, he's our guy, and there's not much he can't do, and I think he's going to get better.
Definitely.
He's going to continue and he's had 8 quarterbacks throw him the ball in 3 seasons.
I mean, he was catching passes from Josh Johnson, wasn't he?
And he's still putting up elite numbers. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So, with a quarterback like Carson Wentz, again, just please let him stay healthy and on the field. I think, this could be his best ever season. And I think,
Definitely.
hopefully with more help as well. So,
Yeah.
great stuff.
Yeah,
great
super
stuff.
great stuff, and exciting too. I mean, you talk about the work ethic and you talk about what can't he do. When he came out of college, he was more just a speedster. The dude could fly down the field, ran like a 4.3, 4.40. He was fast. He was kind of the deep ball threat. You saw the highlights of, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins gunning the ball to him down the field with that huge arm that he had. And then he came into the league, and the knock on him was kind of, okay, he's just a speedster. He's not a great route runner. He's a good route runner. He's not a great route runner, and he makes a lot of body catches. And he comes into the league, he develops his hands, he becomes a phenomenal route runner. He's the whole package. I can't say enough about how excited I am about him, and I think that this also, something that I haven't heard many people talk about, but I think is cool, because maybe it's jumping the gun a little bit, but I think this dangles the carrot a little bit for Jahan Dotson too. Of like, hey, this is a 3rd round pick that we're paying all this money because he developed and he worked really hard. This is what you need to do, and we'll take care of you too. But follow this path. Go be Terry for 3 years, and then we'll have a really great conversation and everybody's going to be happy. So I think that's a cool, just speaking on like the culture and something like that, and with our new prospect we're excited about. But speaking of players that came out of college, came to our teams young, and are now with our teams for the foreseeable future, our guy Bradley Beal also signs a massive extension with the Wizards. That's the other big headline around the DC sports. It's probably 1A and 1B, depending on which sport you like better this week. He signs his Supermax extension. He's with the Wiz for the next 5-6 years, something like that.
Yeah, well, interesting contrast. So, between the NBA and the NFL, where we said that Terry signed $71 million 3 years, Bradley Beal gets $251 million for a 5-year
It's Aaron Rodgers
contract extension. Oh yeah, so put a basketball in your kids' hands if they've got the height deal there. But yeah, and it's interesting too. I think another contrast is where you see everyone's completely unanimous about the Terry deal. I think there's a little bit more where I think most people are really happy about Brad re-signing with the Wizards. There is that portion of the fan base is not sure that it was the right move. What do you think, son?
This one's tough. I think my answer last July would be different than my answer this July. This July, I like it. You have to do it. I mean, what's your other option? Are we going to just completely blow the team up and rebuild? Like, if that's the path you want to go, then fine. But why didn't we do that before the draft and see if we can get some picks, trade Porzingis, liquidate everything, and just go rebuild? But that's clearly not the direction the team's going. That's not what Tommy Shepard thinks the team needs right now. So in that case, hell yeah, sign your best player. Pay him what he deserves. We see the way NBA money changes too. It just keeps going up and up and up. It's the same situation as Terry. in 2-3 years, this contract isn't going to be all that crazy because someone's going to sign a $310 million extension. You know, it's just the way it goes. So I'm happy with it. I think given the position that the team was in, it's the right thing to do. I'm not as over the moon about it as Terry, just because I don't think he's been as great as Terry has been. But I am very happy with it. I mean, he's our best player by far. He's the best Wizard of my lifetime for sure, and at least with longevity. You could say that maybe Gil was better for a couple years, but so I'm happy with it overall.
Yeah, no,
What do you
I
think?
agree, and I think look, I Dominic knows this. I watch a lot of Wiz, especially sometimes late in the season. I'll have to admit when things start going bad, I won't
Yeah.
watch as much. But if the Wizards are on and there's nothing else going on, they're on, and I'm watching. And there's been points and times that I've been a little frustrated with Beal. I think in the sense that I don't like his effort on the defensive end all the time, and I sometimes I do get a little bit upset just in terms of leadership to a degree. I think he's a great kid, and I think what he's done to the community, building basketball courts, and it's another example of he's ours, right? He's our player, and I'm really happy that he signed a deal. I'm really happy that we kept him. But I do feel like as the number one guy on your team, superstar, or investing this much in him, I would just like to see his level of effort and at least its body language, his body language and his leadership, not kind of have this, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but when I see it and I feel it, that he's sort of like, oh, it's not on me that the team's not playing well. It's on the guys that I have supporting me. And you just can't have that attitude. All the greatest players, if their team loses, they feel like it's their fault, regardless
Yeah.
of who they're playing with. If they're playing with me and Dominic and, a couple of our buddies and friends, they're going to feel like it's my fault we lost. And,
Yep.
I never played at a high level, but when I played soccer, I always felt like it was my fault if we won or lost, or I could have done things better to help the team win if we lost. And there's been some frustration there, but having said that, I think we also need to stop expecting Brad to be what he's not. He's
Yeah.
not a great defender. He just isn't, right? But he is an elite scorer. I mean, he scored. He was second in scoring 2 years back to back, with an average 30 points a game. That has rarely been done ever in the NBA.
Yeah, that's
And-
like freakish.
And I do, and I said I was going to come at you a little bit. I'll be kind of gentle, but something you said last week really stuck with me, and I thought about it. And at the time you said it, I just sort of kind of took it. We were, kind of trying to keep things rolling here. We do have a show outline, but you said something. You said that Bradley Beal wouldn't crack the top two of either Boston or the Warriors, and I got a problem with that, son. I don't think that's true at all. Like,
stand
you
by it.
can't say that Klay Thompson is better than Brad Beal now.
Prime Clay?
And I think that if Brad was on the Celtics, he would definitely be considered one of the top two players on that team. And I feel the same thing about the Warriors. I just think there'd be no. In fact, I think he'd be a terrific fit on the Warriors. I think that
Yeah.
Klay would see some bench time if Brad
Yeah.
was on the Warriors.
Okay, so I'll walk that back a little bit. That's fair. I stand by with Boston. I think Jaylen Brown.
I
think
disagree.
Jaylen. We're gonna take Tatum out of the conversation, right? Tatum's number one. That's clear. But Jaylen Brown,
I think it's a lot closer than you think, though.
I think Jaylen Brown's a better two-way player. Maybe he's not a better scorer, but I think he has more dimension to his game, and he's so much better on defense than Brad, and that's such the identity of the Boston Celtics that I think, and he's contributed to that identity that took them to the finals, that I think Jaylen Brown, it's close, but I give him the slight edge.
But you drop
Oh.
Beal into the Celtics as they are now, and they just play. See, to me, that's like a perfect situation for him because he doesn't need to be the top dog. But
Yeah.
there's no way he's not considered,
I think
one or two on that team.
I actually don't think Beal is a good fit in Boston personally, and I think that's why that didn't
would agree
happen,
with that.
because
I
I
would
think
agree with
Brad
that.
Stevens doesn't think Beal is a good fit in Boston. I think we might have him to thank for Beal hanging around here, because
Right.
there's some rumors, and I know him and Tatum are boys, but whatever, neither here nor there. I think he'd be a way better fit in Golden State, and I can get my. I think prime Clay is still better than anything we've seen out of Brad. But right now, Clay, we don't know how far he's going to come back from injury. He certainly wasn't great in the finals. I'll give you that one. And I think that, I mean, that's probably the best place. It's the best place for most players in the NBA to go play next to Steph Curry. But that's probably, Beal wouldn't be insane there. But screw all of that. Beal's in DC,
I'm with
baby.
you. I'm with
He's
you. I'm
wearing
with you.
the
So
red, white, and blue.
I just
Let's
had,
go.
son, you said something when we first started recording these. I think it was the very first episode. And you know what? If you haven't watched it, how dare you go back and watch it? Or it's not on YouTube, actually. We kind of started YouTube later, but it is on, all the streaming
Spotify.
services. And you said, hey, we get to record our takes, and then we get to call each other on our takes. And I'm sure you'll call me out in the future, but that one I actually thought about afterwards. I was like, dog, I wish we would have spent more time, but all good. Now let's get into, the other moves that the Wizards have made. In terms of, they've added and traded for, point guard Monte Morris and veteran wing Will Barton from the Nuggets. What do you think about that? I mean,
I love it, to be honest.
I guess we gave up Ish Smith and KCP, right?
Yeah, that is what
Right.
we gave up, and I mean, no disrespect to either of those guys. I think there were a handful of games last year where KCP was our best player. So I don't want to totally, especially
not
many, but there were a handful. He performed.
Yeah.
I think he performed about to his price tag.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I liked him.
I liked him. Ish Smith is a guy that I've been higher on than consensus, not by much, but higher on than consensus. But still, you got to be realistic about that guy. I mean, he's a third rotation guy, in my opinion, at least on a good enough team. So I'm pretty okay with getting rid of both of those guys. And what I like about it is, what Wes Unseld is trying to instill in this team is that tough, gritty, defensive mindset. And he doesn't have the personnel for that, or he didn't. And now he went and got two guys from his old squad, the Nuggets. He went and got Monte Morris and Will Barton, both good defenders, both scrappy players. So I'm very excited to add them to the team and really kind of reinstill that mindset. It's a little bit of Commanders 2.0 here. It's like Denver East, maybe, but I'm okay with it.
You can't
so
go
far.
there yet.
No, not yet. No. And especially in the NBA, guys move around way more. But I'm excited about it. I think Barton's a dog. I like him a lot. And I think Morris will be a good enough point guard right now. They don't want – it's pretty clear from the front office they don't want a scoring point guard. They want a pass-first, facilitating kind of guy. And Monte Morris can be that for us. So I'm excited.
He shot 48%, over 48% last year, and he was almost 40% from three.
Yeah.
So he's sneaky good as a shooter. He really is, and you got enough scorers on the floor, right? I mean, your top three with Beal, Kuzma, and Porzingis, right? I mean, you've got enough scoring on the field. I think a guy like Monte Morris and then a Rui, can complement those guys. They can both knock down open threes when they have them. I like the move. I think they got better.
I agree. I agree. I think it's one of those moves where it's not a sexy move. These are not. I think Morris probably
not big splash moves.
I think Morris probably will be, but these generally are not. They're like between first and second rotation guys. Not quite, So, and the guys that we gave up, no big names there, no draft picks, so it's not talked about too much. But I think this is a really good. This is one of those moves where it's like bringing J.D. McKissick back for the Commanders. It's like this is the sign of a functioning front office. Like,
that's a good comp.
This is a good bring back for the team, a good pickup. So I really like it. I'm excited about that. Speaking of some other NBA trades. Do you want to do that first, or do you want to talk about Wiz expectations?
Well, let's just real quick. They added DeLon Wright as another player. I think out of Atlanta, so he's a really solid defender and backup. So, I don't know if you're going to be able to handle this news. I don't know if you've heard it, but Raul Neto has left. He signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I thought you were going to say he signed with Calvin Klein. Making a pivot.
He's a handsome man.
He's making a handsome man.
Yeah, he had some good moments for us. He was pretty solid for us. We won't take too many shots at him, but
You know
But
who
yeah, I think
that
let's
it
get
was?
into. Of course, we got Johnny Davis. Love that kid as a rookie. I think this takes a lot of the pressure off of him. He's not going to have to play point. He's probably going to be your backup two guard at this point, I think.
Yep.
So I like that. Take some pressure off of him. He can develop and give you some good minutes there. But what are your expectations in terms of what is now? Let me phrase the question differently. What does success look like for the Wiz? I want number of wins as the first point, and what seed do you think they need to get to just to satisfy you this year?
The combination of those questions is tricky, right? Because you don't know what number of wins is going to equal to what seed. But I'd
Come
say
on, son. Come on.
at least 50 wins and a
50?
5. I would like to see 50 wins next year. I think we can get there. I think we can get there.
So they're going to have to be 50 and 32.
I think we can do it.
You're going to stick with that.
I think we can do it. I'll be optimistic. I think
So
if
anything less
I
than
think
50 wins, Dom is not happy with this
to
team.
be an absolute no. To be an absolute success. I'm happy with less. I'm happy with a. So let me rephrase this. I'm happy with a 5 seed. That would be like I'd be really happy with that, and I expect minimum. We should not be playing in the play-in game.
So
We should
50
go to the
wins for
playoffs.
the Wiz and 11 for the Commanders. I know this isn't a prediction. That's a little different.
This is not a prediction. This is not a prediction. You said to be
right,
a
so-
success. The
So you're
ceiling,
on the
that's-
record.
Let me
You're on the
clarify.
record 50 and 5.
Ceiling for a badass Wizards season for us all to be really excited next year, 50 and 5. That's
Son,
what I expect.
I'm not talking.
What I would be happy with, I'd be happy with a solid winning record and a 6 or 7 seed. I'd be happy with that. As long as we're not playing in the play-in game.
So-
the minimum is we make the playoffs without having to play in the play-in game. That's my expectation.
So the question, just giving you one final chance to answer. There's 10 seconds left on the clock. What is pass fail? What is success? What would satisfy you for this season? How many wins and what seed?
43 wins. Somewhere
So
between
that-
a 6 or 7 seed. I can't pick. Let's say 7.
Okay.
Let's
So
set it
43
let's set it lower. 7 wins.
43 and
7 seeds
39.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 45 wins.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. 45 wins, and I'll say a 6 seed. Stay out of that play-in.
You're gonna grind me
Play.
that hard over 5 wins? You said 45.
You said 50.
was crazy.
50, dude.
That's 5 wins, dude.
The
This is an
difference
82 game
between
season.
50 wins and 45 wins is huge.
Fine.
It's huge.
Fine.
I think a winning season. I think at a
Yeah.
minimum a winning record. I think is
Definitely.
what we're looking for. But, hey man,
Definitely.
it's good stuff. Real quick on some NBA news. Just get into some of the moves. Why don't you take us through some of the big headlines there, son?
Yeah, so let's start small, but on the Eastern Conference side, Brogdon to the Celtics. I know there was some talk about Brogdon coming to the Wiz, potentially. Real quick, 5 seconds. Knowing what they had to give up to get Brogdon, would you do that now if he could come here? They gave up damn near a bag of chips. There's a couple bench players and a first-round pick next year.
It's decent. I'm not unhappy with where we are at the moment, but yeah, I think you'd have to say yes.
That's the exact same answer I give you. I'd be totally fine with doing it, but I'm also happy with the moves that we've made as well.
Right.
So Brogdon to the Celtics, that's kind of the big Eastern Conference news. And then the biggest Eastern Conference news, well, I guess one more DC related. John Wall ended up in LA. He's going to go play with Paul George and Kawhi
Yeah,
Leonard.
good for him.
Good for him. Super excited for him to get a fresh start. Hopefully he can
Be
get
fun
back
to watch.
at least some percentage of how amazing he was when he was in DC, because that doesn't get talked about enough. He was great. And then one more thing, the biggest thing, there's some weirdness going on in Brooklyn, man. Some weirdness going on in Brooklyn. So Kyrie opts in to stay, which everybody thought Kyrie was going to be the problem, right? Kyrie opts in to stay. And then moments later, it feels like maybe it was a few days, but very soon after, KD says, I'm out. I want to trade. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
So what is going on there? And I mean, they said I'm hearing that like Kyrie and KD are open to playing together, but just not in Brooklyn. It's a weird.
It is
It's a
weird.
weird thing
it's
happening
weird because
there.
it's almost like Kyrie opted in but he still wants out,
Yeah,
right? So it's sort of like, okay, well, maybe he's securing his money, and then he's demanding a trade too.
that's what it
But
is.
yeah, it's a shame. I'm a big KD fan. I'm gonna stick with it. We had a little text messaging going on. Few of the family talking about it, and I think it's unfortunate. He just made some career decisions, and he does seem to have. He does seem ultra sensitive with the criticism. He went to the Warriors. They won championships with him. But one thing you can never say about the guy in terms of he always brings it on the basketball court.
He's a freak.
Always
He's a
gives
freak.
maximum, but not just his ability, which is like off the charts talent about a 7-footer that can do the things that he can do, but he always gives 100%. He tried to put that Nets team on his back. He was clearly worn down come the playoffs. A lot of respect for him, and what ultimately matters. A lot of people talk S, right? We've been known to talk S at times.
From here,
He brings it on. He brings it on the field. On the court. I wish he would have made a little bit of better decisions. I honestly think, and I know I'm biased, his best move would have been to come home, but apparently, and build his legacy here. But apparently, he has good reasons for not wanting to do that. I respect him for that.
Yeah.
But what's his next move? What do you predict his next move is? This is just wild. You're hearing the Suns. I said it's going to be Miami. I'll stick with that. That's just a gut feeling more than anything else. But guess it's going to land in one of those spots. But and I thought you said it, great. It's a weird situation.
So I don't think if you look at what he would have to get trade capital wise, like what Brooklyn would have to get to give up KD, I don't think Phoenix makes as much sense just because Phoenix has that young core and I don't think they want to break that up. Right. There's been some rumblings about Ayton hitting the market, I guess. I don't really know what's going on with that. I'm a little bit confused. But I've heard that name get tossed around a lot. So who knows? Maybe that's enough. But it's definitely not enough. But maybe that's enough to be a part of a package. Miami would be cool. That's already I think that takes Miami to the favorite out of the East without a doubt. If you can get... I know there's some health questions with KD, but you figure if you can get 55, 60 games out of KD, Miami should be a 1 seed free, depending on what they have to give up. And in my opinion, championship team too. But it's interesting. I think Miami is probably the best fit personally. Yeah. That would be my feelings.
All right. Well, more to come on that. I think we'll see we'll see how this develops and what happens with KD, and we'll definitely spend some time. As you can see, between Commanders, NFL, and NBA, it's our sweet spot here, and we'll be talking plenty more of that. But we've kept the people waiting long enough. It's a holiday and celebration of the 4th of July weekend. Long weekend for most of us. We thought we'd do something a little different this time around. So why don't you kick us off on Kickouts of the Week?
Yeah, so good news and bad news. No fresh kickouts of the week this week. This week, for the holidays, we're going to go back. We're going to name our top 3 kickouts of the week so far. We figured, between it being a 3-day weekend for 4th of July, 4-day weekend for some people, maybe 2-day weekend depending, and being a celebratory episode with Brad coming back, Terry coming back. This might be a once-in-a-lifetime experience where it's just nothing but positivity to talk about this week. So we're going to do top 3 kickouts so far. We know this is your guys' favorite segment, so thank you for listening until this point. We're not going to waste any more time getting into it. Pop, from 3 to 1, name your 3, then I'm going to name my 3 from 3 to 1, and then we'll react. Go ahead.
So I've got, and this is going to be a bit of an upset, I think, but my top 3, at number 3, coming in at number 3, Urban Meyer.
Oh!
I think that's a little bit of an upset.
Oh!
But Urban Meyer and all of his comments, I think that was our very first Kickouts. Thank you, Urban Meyer, for starting us up with a bang. I still think he's Hall of Fame eligible, even though he's coming in at number 3. It's a controversial pick, him being that low. But yeah, Urban Meyer and his comments, not knowing who Aaron Donald was at number 99, he's pretty good. What does Aaron Donald wear? Is it 99?
99.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's like, hey, here we might
I
have
got
some
it right.
trouble with
I'm
that
a little
99
shaky
guy.
now, but
see, it's okay for you to ask that question, what number Aaron Donald wears, because you're not a Rams fan. You just watch the NFL.
that's true.
For
That's
Urban
true.
Meyer
But I
to
know who
ask
Aaron
that
Donald
question-
is.
For Urban Meyer to be asking what's up with that 99 guy, see, he can't ask that question. He's getting paid millions of dollars to know that.
Tough one, but I got to go number 3 there. I go the Will Smith, Chris Rock slapping incident, number 2.
Yep.
What else can you say there? But my personal favorite, my number 1, is Mike Tyson slapping the crap out of that kid on the airplane. And you go watch that video, and that kid just needling him, going at him. And I think recently Mike Tyson was on Jimmy Kimmel talking about it and said, hey, I usually try to keep my cool these days, but sometimes I said it. Sometimes people deserve an ass beating, and that kid deserved one at that point. I'm going Mike Tyson airplane incident.
There you go.
Finally cracking and beating that kid. So that's my top 3. What about you, son?
So I actually have the same top 3, believe it or not, which, I mean, honestly, it should be the top 3,
Cream rises
right?
to the top. Cream rises to the top.
Different order. For me, number 3 is the slap heard around the world. Will Smith slapping the crap out of Chris Rock. Hilarious moment. The reason it ranks so low was because of all the damn discussions I had to listen to about it afterwards. It was so annoying. We can't just take this at face value. This is hilarious. This dude slapped the crap out of this dude. This is funny. Leave it at that. Number 2, I got Urban Meyer at number 2. We'll edit that. Try it again. Number 2, I got Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, man, you said it best, Pop. Dingus. Just such a silly. There's just no other word for it.
He doesn't. Come on, we can't even put him in the dingus club.
He's Dingus is in our family. Dingus is like a lovable idiot. There's nothing lovable about that guy. There's just nothing lovable about that guy. So we can't even call him a dingus. That's fair, right?
No.
So he's out of that. Yeah.
I mean right now the dingus club consists of you, me, our Ravens insider.
Yep.
And Mello.
And rest in peace, Brody.
And Brody, right? So those are our 5. Yeah. So Mello and Brody are our dogs. Brody, like Dominic said, rest in peace.
I would have used a different word, but we're trying to keep it,
Yeah. Keep going, keep rolling.
But yeah, between not knowing who Aaron Donald was and feeling up random women at the bar after a team lost, there's nothing redeemable about that guy or his job. Number 1 was Mike Tyson as well. I mean, just how do you? For me, that's
just makes me smile. It just makes me smile.
That's a top 3 all-time cazz moment in American history, in my opinion. That is just so awesome. I mean that.
So go back, do your research. We'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Or
tweet us your
Twitter.
top 3.
Give us your top 3. We want to hear. Let's get some action going here.
And maybe we get some good ones. We can check in and read them on the next pod. Give you a shout out. So comment if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you know how to use YouTube. Open up YouTube and comment, or tweet us. Do that too. Maybe Instagram. Pop going crazy on the Instagram.
Fire.
I showed Pop how to screen record, and an hour later he texted me. It's
changed my life.
It's late over on the East Coast. He texts me and he's like, Dominic, screen recording has changed my life forever. So, yeah, the East Coast marketing department getting it together for us. But, yeah, let us know what you think of our top 3s. And, I think that's pretty much it. Pop, you got anything else you want to talk about this week? Anything else you want to get into?
Yeah, I can't get into my comments about the West Coast marketing department. That might be just a pop solo pod another time, but we'll
I think your comments with the West Coast marketing department are in line with my comments about the East Coast editing and engineering department. It's kind of
still under development.
It's under development. Exactly, we're working on it. But
but had fun again. Happy 4th of July, everybody, and.
Definitely have a great 4th weekend. Everybody stay safe, stay hydrated. Don't do anything too crazy with the fireworks. We definitely had some close calls growing up in my in my neighborhood with some fireworks a few times. Definitely had some.
And most importantly, if you happen to be on a plane this weekend with Mike Tyson, leave him alone.
Yeah.
Most importantly, that's the most safety. concern we have.
Hey, Mike, happy 4th. Keep it moving.
That's
if he doesn't
right.
look at you, don't put your phone in your face. Don't get all up with it. He's going to slap you. So we'll leave it at that. And Mike Tyson, big fans. Nothing but good things to say about you over here at the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. But anyways, with all that being said, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And we're going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening.